But now in week 4, we're going to move into the muscles and the bones. And so this week, we're going to talk about the skull and we're going to talk about the facial muscles. Each of those lessons will have questions behind them. And then we also going to have coloring and labeling exercises behind them. You're also going to have some work, of course, with the lab portion with Georgette that is independent of, not independent, but in addition to what we're doing in the lecture section. Is not that much more. We'll finish up with a Padlet like always. So let's go briefly into it. We'll look at the skull. When we look at the skull, we have a lot of, this is now where we have terminology. So we're starting to bring in all the different bones that make up the skull, and then with the head, we have the skull and we also have the face. And so we have these bones in the face. And so we start naming them all and we start going into the details of the different landmarks on these bones, different bones themselves. So we talk a little bit more about them in here. And we'll do that with the skull, and we then do that for the facial bones as well. Where, you know, we chew, we eat, we have our nose and so forth on it. So a lot of that is terminology, and a lot of that is also then, of course, what you're doing in the lab with the anatomy. And then facial muscles is the second one, and I kind of like facial muscles. Some of the weirdest names of muscles are in the facial muscles. So we'll talk briefly and first about an overview, but then I want to talk about facial expressions a little bit, because that's partly why we have these facial muscles. And then we get into the different ones that are have to do with facial expressions. When we look at muscles, we look at origin, where they're attached, insertion, those are the attachments, and then we look at the action, which is what the muscle does as an A. We described these OIAs in the previous chapter, I believe, I hope. What else is there? I mean, there's a lot of these different names. And what I want you to do in the lecture portion, I want you to color, and then I want you to label them. And then you go into the lab and you solidify the information more in there. So it's just a lot of name. Look at the names, though. The names are kind of interesting. Look at that. Levator, labii superioris, aliquinasa. That's the longest name, I think. Levator means elevating. You have other names that are called depressor, or you have another name here, orbicularis, that refers to an orb, a round structure. Labii refers to lip. So you know already this is a muscle that raises a lip. Superioris means it's above. Obviously, raising a lip is probably somewhere above, not below. Aliqui, we don't know that, refers to wing, and nasi refers to the nose. So that is a muscle that lifts both the upper lip and the wing of the nose a little bit. They call it the Elvis muscle because that's sort of what he did. So when you look at these names, don't get too intimidated, but look at them for like a practical perspective. What do they try to tell me? All right, so that's the chapters here. So it's not that. It's a lot of terminology now. When we get then to the labeling and coloring, what we're doing in these chapters, we're having videos that I talk about the skull and different parts. And then we got these terms, and these are the terms that I want you to color and label on the pieces on the sheet of paper, or annotate, or make flashcards and picture and upload that. But those are the terms that I want you to be familiar with, that you know, that you can learn as sort of the first tier of, you know, well, no, it's actually a lot of terms. Once you know these, you've got a pretty good reference point of things, and pretty good reference list. So that's pretty much the main thing here. And yeah, we just have an integration of the cell model discussion, and the rest is just this coloring and labeling. And then a quiz. I mean, a Padlet, I'm sorry, not a quiz. Good, that's all I have in terms of this week. I wish you very good luck with the test. It will be fine. You've been doing great work, and I'm very proud of you. Have a good week, and we'll talk next time. Bye-bye.